Hello, my friends, and welcome to episode 5 of the $20 or Less podcast. We are recording live on February 22nd, 2015, and I'm your host, JD, aka Gaddock Teeg, and with me today, as always, is my co-host, Cosmic Engine. How you doing today, Cosmic?
You know, one of those weeks that you just have like a complete bullshit week.
Yes, I know as well.
That was my week. It was just, everything was just bullshit. It's like, oh, do you know what? I'm just gonna go back to bed today.
I know. I'm looking forward to my nap right after we finish recording this episode for sure. I had an engagement party last night, and I was out for too long for recording a podcast at 10 a.m. the next day. So
yeah. Too many daiquiris.
If I pass out while we're recording, you know why. You can just kind of nudge the computer, and I'll wake up. So, what have you been playing? What's been going on? What have you been playing in the video game world?
What have I been playing? I played an early access game called Onikira Demon Killer, which is like it's a 2D side-scrolling beat 'em up that I'm doing a video on for my channel, and it's actually pretty good. It's got combos in it, which is nice because I like beat 'em ups with combos in rather than just button bashing the same button over and over and over. Which you can get by button bashing in the game, but it's kind of better to do the combos. And it's set in a fantasy feudal Japan, so you play like this samurai in crimson armor, and basically the enemies are all demons coming from the underworld, and you've got to stop them. I mean, it's very. I like it. Reminded me heavily of the Capcom's Onimusha series.
Okay.
Just because it's like you've got a samurai in red armor, like in Onimusha, who gains the ability to absorb demon souls to be able to purchase new combos and stuff like that, and it's just exactly like that.
Yeah, that's pretty standard at this point. I think is getting people's soul to spend in shops that make souls for some reason.
But I liked it. The art style is very nice. The lighting's very nice. It's actually coming out next month. Supposedly, the developer said it's coming out next month.
Who's it by? Is it an indie or?
It's an indie. It's by a company called Digital Furnace Games. They originally called the game Honorbound, but they couldn't use that name because basically another developer created a iOS game called Honorbound with a different spelling, and then basically they faced legal action to change the name. So they had to change it. But it's actually like a pretty legit 2D side-scrolling beat 'em up. Like I don't really like beat 'em ups that much, but it's actually pretty fun. Like the entire way through, and it's quite challenging. It's got like some segments in levels where you've got a platform and run away and that kind of thing. So it's actually pretty good.
I'll have to check that out. Do you know how much that is on Steam? Is it on Steam, I assume?
Yeah, it's on early access. Steam. I think it's like 15.
I'll definitely have to give that one a look. I enjoy the side scroller beat 'em ups. I like Shank a lot. That's a really fun game. So it's good. I have not been playing very much at all. I've played TheEscapists, obviously, which we'll talk about later on in the episode. But the other game I've been playing a lot this week was Magic the Gathering. I don't know if you're a big fan of Magic the Gathering, if you played at all, if you know about it. They have probably the worst online client in existence, but I still play it.
You played the online one?
Yes, I did not go to a store and face people face to face. That's scary. I decided to stay in front of the computer and play online. They just released their new set, the Fate Reforged set, which is pretty good. I'm enjoying the Khans of Tarkir storyline that they're doing. It's kind of like an Asian infusion of storyline. It's kind of goes along with like the Mongolian kind of flair with Khans leading across like deserts and their dragons, and it's an interesting story, and I really like what they're doing with this set. So I enjoyed it. Other than that, I really haven't played much at all. I got a new board game which I'm excited to try out.
Oh, what's that? I love board games.
Yeah, it's Machi Koro. Here we go. They're getting a little free advertisement here. It's by Pandasaurus Games, who are really cool. They do some good stuff. They did Tammany Hall, or at least they re-released Tammany Hall. They didn't design it themselves, I don't think, but they bought the rights to it because they thought it was such a good game and then decided to release it themselves.
What you do?
This one I have not opened yet, so I'm not sure. You kind of build a city, but Tammany Hall is really funny because it's based in like late 1800s, early 1900s, New York City, and you have to influence the different ethnic groups in order to win your mayorship, and then you have to stay in power, and the longer you stay in power, the more influence you get, and it's a pretty fun game. So you should check that one out if you're looking.
I love the resurgence of board games in like the past 2 years, because it was like they were done for so long. Like it was like a good 10-year period where people were like, board games are boring.
Yeah.
And then like so many good board games have come out now. Like especially with like, have you checked out the new XCOM board game?
I have seen it. I was thinking about getting it, but the only thing I don't like is like needing an iPad. Kind of scares me a little bit because I feel like I maybe like what if my iPad isn't charged? Like I feel like all my fears are for nothing, but I think it's a little scary. And I don't know.
I like the iOS integration with some of them. I think I've looked at the XCOM one, and it's actually pretty good. Like how the iPad software kind of like sends you on missions and gives you different things, and it kind of I really like it, and I think it's a good way to kind of bridge the gap between the traditional board game and technology. I think it can be done in a bad way where you almost have the iPad doing too much for you.
Right.
But I like it. I think games like that are really cool.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting concept that could definitely go somewhere in the future with a lot of different ways you can integrate technology into a physical board game. But like you said, I think it is important to keep the integration just as like a companion and not being like the main focus.
Mm-hmm.
I think having a board and pieces and something tactile is important in board games and what really sets them apart. And I think it's been great where Kickstarter for video games has kind of gone to hell in a handbasket. I think Kickstarter for board games is still great. There's still amazing ideas out there, and they get Kickstarted for big money. I know the Conan game.
Oh yeah, that
recently
thing
got like $2 million or something ridiculous.
It was crazy. That people love Conan.
Yeah, I mean, how could you not?
I know, right?
Oh.
No, I was really pleased to see that, and I think like Kickstarter is really good for board games. Like I think was it the zombie board game? It's like TheEscapists, something like that.
Zombicide?
Or something like that. It was that was off Kickstarter.
I backed that one too.
Yeah.
That's a fun one. Yeah, they do Cool Mini or Not they do a lot of like the miniature games, like they did Zombicide, they did Rivet Wars. They do a lot of the miniatures, and they're really, really good at that. They do high quality product. I definitely would endorse them too.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I tell you what I did play. Because now I'm in America again, I have a PS3 here, and I downloaded DC Universe Online on the PS3 because I played it briefly when it first came out on the PC, and I didn't really like it that much. So and I was like, yeah, forget it. But now they've got like a bit more content and stuff. I decided to download it again because the kids like all the superhero stuff.
Right.
So I haven't really got much into it yet, but I kind of started it again and seeing what it was like to play on a PS3, which was an interesting experience because I've never played.
Yeah, how does it work on the controller? How is the?
It's fine. I think you could tell that the game was designed to work on a controller, and it's really fun. It's really fluid. The combat's, everything like everything movement and combat is really fluid. It's a little awkward when it comes to kind of the social aspects. When it's like I don't have a keyboard just to type messages. That's kind of weird. So it's kind of, if you want to talk to people, you kind of need a headset, which is okay, but I don't really like talking to loads of people all the time. And I think it's the same problem that Elder Scrolls Online had. The PC version is that like you can tell it was designed with consoles in mind. So like it's going to be really easy for people to control their characters when it comes out for PlayStation and Xbox and stuff. Where it's like the movement and the combat is all going to be fine on the controller, but the actual social element of the MMO is going to really suffer in that regard. Yeah. So I think that's the kind of downside to console MMOs, is like the social part of it really suffers in terms of just being able to just type in general chat
Yeah.
But
There should be like an old school keyboard on the controller, like they had for was it Ultima Online for the Dreamcast.
But then again, I mean, like with Elder Scrolls Online, you don't really need. You can play the game by yourself. Like you don't really need anyone.
That's true. So let's get into some news, because once again there wasn't a ton of it. So I guess we can knock this out pretty quickly. Let's start out with probably the biggest news this week, if you can even consider it news. The Order 1886 came out this week, and it sparked a little controversy about its length.
Yeah.
So apparently, about a week before the game launched, a YouTuber posted his entire playthrough, including all cutscenes, and it clocked in at about 5.5 hours. And some people were like, no way, this game can't be 5.5 hours. They've been working on it so long. They've spoken about it so many times. We're paying $60 in 5 hours. That's a little crazy. The developers came out and said, hey, this isn't, what we really think the game is. Like, and if it is 5 hours, it doesn't matter. Like, that game length shouldn't matter that way. And we have a cinematic vision, and that's the important part for this game, not necessarily the game length. It's the cinematic vision, the letterboxing, and the great-looking in-engine cutscenes. So what do you think about this whole Order 1886 business?
It's a classic. It's a classic argument, isn't it? It's because was it something like the game was like 5.5, 6 hours long, and then like 2 to 3 of those hours were cutscenes. Is that right?
Yeah,
something like that.
Yes.
That's impressive. Like, yeah. I think it's a classic thing, right? Here's the thing: I like short games and I like long games. Now, it's the classic argument of length versus price, right? So, an indie game that you pay $10 to $20 for, you get like 5-6 hours out of that. Money well spent, right? If you enjoyed the game.
Yeah, if it's a good game.
That's fine. It's short length, fine. Indie game, low price, not a problem. When you pay $60 for a game and it's 5 hours long, that's a piss take. And the reason is because it's $60. It's not the fact that, for example, from what I know, people said what the actual storyline and what cutscenes there was and what gameplay there was pretty okay, in the Order.
Yeah.
Problem is that it's a $60 game. And it's the same reason that like people got upset about Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes, was the fact that they were charging a fortune for something that was a demo.
Right.
And that took you a couple of hours to complete. It's wrong. Like, I don't care how much you spent making it look pretty. You can't charge people $60 for a game that's not going to last them even half a day. Like, It's not okay. And and they say, well, we have cinematic vision. Make a film then.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have anything wrong with you having creative direction and you wanting to make lots of cutscenes and let it be, heavily story driven. That's fine for me.
Yep.
But I actually want to do something, And people say, well, you can't have it both ways. Well, you can. Check out Metal Gear Solid, the original Metal Gear Solid for the PlayStation, right? Not the original Metal Gears, but the Metal Gear Solid.
Yep.
That game was crazy long. That game had, it must have been like 9-10 hours of cutscenes in there, easily, right? But you still had, again, you had 10-15 hours of gameplay in there too. Like, for every 15-minute cutscene that there was that you had to sit through and watch and, listen through all the text and blah, 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 you then had half an hour gameplay in between. Like, You can do it. It's not a problem. I'm not sure why they thought they were going to get away with this. Like, I don't think they did. I
don't think they did. And it's so weird because listening to them, you feel like they understand 100% what their game is. It sounds like they made what they wanted to make. It doesn't sound like a situation where they were rushed or that they didn't have the time or budget. It sounded like this is the game we wanted to make. It's a short game. It's very cinematic, and that was our goal. And I at least commend them for being pretty straightforward about it.
Yeah.
They weren't trying to hide from it. They did get out there and say, hey, this guy was probably not collecting everything, but it is a pretty short game. Yes, we have letterboxing. yes, we're doing QuickTime events and things like that. They didn't try and hide from it, which I think they should be commended for.
Which is fine. Which is fine. And again, I don't have a problem with short games. I don't have a problem with if that's the game they wanted to make. I have no problem with that. I have a problem with you charging $60 for it though, because many people, don't have $60 to spend on a 6-hour game. When they work all month, they pay their bills, they pay put food on the table for the kids, and they probably have just about $60, if not less, to spend on one thing for themselves. And when they want to feel that they've got value for money for that. Now, buying a game like The Order is going to be a disappointment for those people because they're going to play it and probably complete it in a night. And they're like, well, what was that? That's a waste of my money.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. If they said, like I said, if you're going to charge $60 for it, then come out and say how long it is before you...
Yeah, that's what I think. I feel like I don't want to say you can't make a short game for $60 because I'm not an artist, I'm not a game developer. I'm sure there is some kind of game out there that they could make that's an hour long and charge $60 and everyone would love it. And I'm sure there are games that are hundreds of hours long, that, like Skyrim. I hate Skyrim. That game is hundreds of hours long. I still hate it. Like that, the length doesn't make it any better of a value proposition for me because I just don't like it. So I think that the important part is that the developer does get out there and says how long their game is. I think that saying what your game length is important.
Yeah, but they'll never do that because they wouldn't get any sales.
Right.
And that's the issue. And I just don't think that in terms of an actual consumer-driven market, I don't think that it's realistic to have short games at $60. Like, it's just not realistic because people knowingly won't buy it. Like, it's not going to happen. So
and that's why YouTube, I think the rise of YouTube is just another reason why it's so important, is that you can actually go on YouTube and see, oh, this guy finished this game in like 3 parts, like an hour long each, then maybe I should stay away from this game. But it also leads to, developers trying to push the pre-order, trying to get all that pre-order DLC and get that customer's money as soon as possible, early in development, months early in some cases, and it's like this hard give and take that it's weird, and I don't know, we're in a weird spot with how video games are sold right now and how they're marketed, and it's just a weird place.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. I just don't think personally feel, because I've played like long games like all my life. Like, my go-to genre is role-playing games. Now, when I buy a role-playing game, I expect it to be a certain length. And that length is pretty much 25 hours or more, right? If that game isn't 25 hours or more, it has either got to be fantastically mind-blowing to the point where I play 15 hours or something like that and go, holy crap, that was amazing. Or I feel like I've been ripped off. And that's just the way it is. Like, to say, for it, like to go back to what you said, that the developer said, that, oh, well, he must have not been collecting everything. That's not an okay excuse. Like, the main story, the main element, the main content of your game has to be long, forgetting like the side things that you put in. And I don't think that you can justify $60 for 6 hours. I think that's ridiculous. And I think if it's to the point where if a game gets to the point where it's more movie than game, make a movie.
Yeah, and like that. I think that a movie, like, you don't really see movies that are made like video games, and I think that's an interesting market that could be catered towards, like an in-engine movie, basically, where you develop a film like you develop a game in an engine with.
But I mean, would that not just be like animation though? Like
right? No, it would be like animation, but it's a type of animation that I don't think we've really seen before. I can't think of a movie that's used like realistic kind of graphic styles in the way a video game does to make a movie.
But I just don't. The thing for me is a video game by definition is an interactive medium. Like, I want to be able to do something, right? And if a developer's just basically going to make me sit back and watch stuff the entire game, why would I spend $60 on that when I could go to the cinema, spend $5, and have the same experience for the same amount of time.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and they've in the order specifically, they've used certain tropes that I think a lot of people are sick of. The QuickTime events during their cutscenes are annoying, unskippable cutscenes. Like who does that anymore?
Yeah. But I mean, take a game that came out quite a while back, Rise: Son of Rome, right? That game was just QuickTime all the way,
right?
Like the entire way through. But it was like 15 to 20 hours long. Like it wasn't a bad length, and the story was not a bad length. So even though I hated the story in that game because I thought it got ridiculous, and I hated the QuickTime events all the time, and I thought it could have been a lot better of a game, it still looked great. And it was still a decent amount of time, so I came away, because I didn't buy it on launch, I bought it at a reduced price on a sale. So when I bought that game on a reduced price on a sale, 15 hours, even though it was QTE heavy, I still felt like I got my money's worth.
Right. See, I think that's more egregious than this. I think that a long game that's full of bad tropes is probably worse than a short game that's full of poor tropes. Because, QuickTime events, I guess, could be good in certain situations. I think that some of the QuickTime events in, like, Telltale games are done well, where it's not, you fail and you lose the game, you have to restart. But these QuickTime events are the kind where if you don't hit them, you die. But anyway, I think that I'd rather a short game that's more focused and than a long game that's just longer, spread out, the same BS that I don't want to do anymore.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, but as I say, if you want to make a short game that's focused, I'm all for that. Like I like short games. They make my job easier when I'm doing a review. Like make more short games. That's fine. Yeah. Just don't make me pay $60 for it. Do you know what I mean? Like for example, we talked about Disorder a few episodes back. That game was like 3 hours long. That was it.
Yep.
Right? And it cost like $15. That's fine.
Yeah.
I felt happy with that.
Yep.
That not a problem.
Yeah.
Charge me $60 for that game, then we've got a problem.
Yeah, it's a value thing. That's important. All right, next up, This Stomping Lands, which was not a zombie survival, this was a dinosaur survival game that went on early access on Steam. It was kickstarted, and I was one of the Kickstarter backers, because this game looked really cool, and had a lot of promise, but unfortunately it is extinct. The modeler came out this week and said that he's moving on, he can no longer work for the game. What happened was the original creator just went dark. He stopped returning emails. He stopped updating the Steam page or the forums. He just peaced out. No one has heard from him again. So who knows? Maybe he was eaten by a dinosaur. But this I just wanted to note because this game I thought had a lot of promise. I think that dinosaur games are something that hasn't been done well in a long time. And I saw where this game was going, and I thought it was gonna really hit that mark for me.
What's your favorite dinosaur game?
Oh, my favorite dinosaur game is it's not a long list to think of. I'm actually thinking it might be the Jurassic Park game on the Sega Genesis. It was like a side scroller where you could play as a Velociraptor.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mine was Jurassic Park Genesis, which was basically the Jurassic Park version of Theme Park, where you basically got to build your own
park.
I remember
that one.
I really liked that one.
Yeah.
I felt like a lot of hours into that.
Too many. I remember there was actually a really good Jurassic Park mod for Warcraft 3. Oh, yeah? They had a good Warcraft mod. It was enjoyable, where you kind of had to... It's sort of played by the movie, but you had to escape to the helipad and go through some of the movie scenes. It was pretty enjoyable. But yeah, this is just another case of a Kickstarter failing. It is important to note that this game is still available on Steam if you want to get in it for some reason at this point. It was taken down last September, and then they just put it back up, and it's been up ever since. And even after this the modeler said that the creator hasn't returned his emails or anything. It's still up there, but just a shining example of Steam Early Access working in everyone's favor.
Yeah, I mean, it's a classic case. I mean, don't get me right. my job as a critic is to give developers shit, right? In a sense. But don't get me wrong, being a developer is ridiculously hard, like ridiculously hard, and it's time consuming, and it's not a good, like, when people say, "Oh, I really want like a really nice job that's easy to do," being a developer is not an easy job.
Oh no.
And I think it's a classic case of one of the problems with things like Kickstarter, early access, etc. It's given a better way into development for people who have never developed before, or people who are just kind of part-time developers who've done a little little flash games and stuff, and they want to do something bigger, and they don't realize how much work and commitment it takes to do something bigger.
Yeah.
And so it's easy to get in, and when they're in, they're kind of like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
This is too hard.
I think people have kind of gotten light of that with Kickstarter and are a little bit more wary about Kickstarters now.
Yeah.
This game was, I think, 2 or 3 years ago when it launched, and that was kind of in the height of Kickstarter, and all these cool ideas were going up and getting 10 times what they asked for during like the Broken Age era. And this is just another one of those games that didn't happen. All you had to do is make a cool, flashy video, and that's all it took at the time. And I have to say, this is better than some of the cases like Code Hero, where they just pieced out and didn't ever make anything. They made a working game. You could ride dinosaurs in this game. You could build a saddle. You could leash a dinosaur and ride it around. That was really enjoyable, and you still can do that. But they didn't finish the game. They had promise and didn't get there. So I just wanted to make note of that.
Speaking of Broken Age, Double Fine.
Oh,
Like,
you want to go down this route again?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I love how Tim Schafer this week came out in defense of Peter Molyneux, saying that the whole backlash to Peter Molyneux was blown out of proportion.
Yeah, birds of a feather, right?
Yeah, I was like, Tim, I literally sat there and just laughed. I was like, Tim, you were like the last person to be speaking about this.
Yeah.
The last person. Like, didn't you just like get money for a Kickstarter and then use that funds for a different game? Like, didn't you do that? Isn't that like really dodgy?
I mean, he basically lucked into not being the Peter Molyneux. He could have easily gone the other direction with this and been Peter Molyneux. It's just that he has a little bit more credit and he's a little bit more likable than Peter Molyneux.
No, I don't think he is at all. I think he's a lot more shady than Peter Molyneux.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't trust Tim Schafer with anything.
Yeah, I mean, he makes good, fun, quirky games, and I think that kind of rubs off on him. And he kind of has like the quirky kind of face, but he seems like the kind of person that might be, The
problem is people think that like when I say something like that I really don't like Peter Molyneux or Tim Schafer or stuff like that, they think it's personal. Like they think I'm being like, I don't like you as a human being, and it's not. I fully respect their creative talent, like I do, and I think they make great games. The problem is I just don't like what they do. Like, I read Jim Sterling's Jimquisition on Peter Molyneux, on the Peter Molyneux issue, and he said the same. He was like, listen, we like these guys' creative talent and what they've done and some of the video games they produced in the past, but this like cycle of lying has gone on for too long. Like it has gone like it's the same. And he actually pulled up some really interesting stuff about Peter Molyneux, saying that basically every time Peter Molyneux brings out a game, he slams the last one.
Yep.
So what he does, Fable 2 is coming out, so he goes, Fable 1, awful. We should never have made it. It was a disappointment, blah, blah, blah. Fable 2 is going to be the one. And Fable 2 comes out, and he goes on how great Fable 2 is, and then Fable 3 is on the pipeline, and he'll go, Fable 2 was a disaster, and all these problems, but Fable 3 is going to fix it. And he does this like cycle of kind of overhyping his games and overpromising and lying. People say it's not lying, but it's lying. And it's just like this has gone on for too long. You wouldn't get away with this in any other industry.
Right.
Stop.
And it's sad that Kickstarter kind of encourages that kind of mentality. It encourages you to overpromise and underdeliver.
No, I don't think it does at all. I couldn't believe you said that. Like, I was like, that's the worst excuse I've ever heard in my life. That the Kickstarter kind of forces you to overpromise stuff.
Right.
No, it doesn't.
I don't think it forces you, but I think it does encourage you because people are rewarded all the time for overpromising and underdelivering, and there's no ramifications for that. So, I mean, while it's shady and they shouldn't be doing it, obviously, it does lend to that kind of attitude towards it.
I don't know. Maybe I just expect people to have more of a moral compass than they actually do.
I mean, that would be wonderful if we could expect everyone to act like normal human beings all the time, but we all know that doesn't happen.
It's funny because it happens a lot on Kickstarter. That I actually was looking at getting a pen mouse. You know where you can.
Okay, yeah.
I can't remember what they're called. And I actually saw one on Kickstarter, and I was like, "Oh, that looks really good," and it had been fully backed for quite a while. I was like, where can I get this? And then I read the comments on Kickstarter, and this guy had just done one with like 150 grand of people's money. Like, and I was like, so it does happen quite often, not just in video games, but just in general on Kickstarter, where people just don't deliver what they promised to deliver.
Yeah, I think I was reading, I forget what the name of it was, but I do remember seeing it on Kickstarter. It was like this gun peripheral where it was kind of like an M16, like actual peripheral that you could play with COD and things like that. And they'd gone dark for several months, and they raised, I think, $200,000. So,
and these people give
it happens.
Kickstarter a really bad name because I know, like, for example, there was a guy who made a table. He made like a desk, I think it was. It was like one of the most awesome computer desks I've ever seen. Like, it was incredible. And he put it on Kickstarter, and his intention was only to make like 10, 15 of them because he thought there wouldn't be much interest in that. And he sold like hundreds and hundreds of units. Like, he made thousands of dollars. And he was like, because he was hand building these himself. He had like, all of a sudden he had like thousands of people wanting this desk, and he was kind of like, can't do this. Like, this is too much. Like, it's almost like to the point where he became too successful.
Right, yeah.
And he's like, I can't build all these desks. This is crazy. But what the good thing about him was that he did the smart thing. And he went, well, do you know what I'll do? I'll go talk to a manufacturer and see what I can work out and try and deliver my products. Like, and he kept informing people. He kept informing the backers of what was going on at all times instead of just going, well, do you know what? I'm just going to panic and just never log on ever again.
Right. And I mean, that's the thing with Kickstarter, though, is that you can do that, and there's little to no ramifications for that. There's nothing that Kickstarter can really do if you just say, "Oh, couldn't do it. Sorry."
I tell you now, though, there's going to be something changing in the next couple of years, whereby there's going to be a really high-profile case of this. Like, I'm talking like, CNBC, CNN news, like front page kind of high-profile case, and it'll be something to do with kind of medicine or something medical where it's hurt people who are sick. If people are promising something or something like that, and it's just going to hit the front page of the news, and then what's going to happen is it'll get some lawmaker somewhere will go, right, we need to push for this, and then people will start getting prosecuted for it.
And like you said, it's sad because there are people on Kickstarter that have good intentions, and they accurately describe what they need and want to deliver, but they can't get funding because there are so many other shady Kickstarters out there. People are wary of it now. People aren't spending as much money. Back in the heyday, people would spend on everything that looked mildly interesting, but nowadays,
I think
it's a crapshoot.
I think it's people are a bit more wary. I don't think Kickstarter's got because a lot of people have been saying that Kickstarter is like going downhill. I don't think it is at all because I think Kickstarter is still in full swing. I think the difference is that people, particularly people who are regular backers of things, are learning to do more research on things. So they want to know where these people come from, what they've done before. And particularly, that's always been important with video games. If someone comes up to you and says, go back this Kickstarter because I'm making a new video game, ask them what they've done before. Do you know what I mean? Like, what pedigree they've got, because that's important.
Yeah.
Because if they've never done anything, if they're promising you a AAA title and they've never done a AAA title before, it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, there does have to be some kind of consumer responsibility here. Like, you do need to enforce your rules and make sure that people aren't going and doing shady things on Kickstarter, but also you do have to take it into account when you're putting money down into Kickstarter that, this could never happen, and I should probably do my research and find out, the chances of this ever happening. All right, let's just run down here. I guess we'll do this last story that you put on here with Greg Zuschik, one of the doctors who founded BioWare. He had retired and went into the beer making industry.
He did, yeah.
He was making beer and doing blogs about making beer, but apparently he is back, and he has decided to get into games again, but not in the way that you may think. He has decided to work with a company. Let me get the name of the company. Play Power, and they work on augmented reality games for playgrounds.
Yeah.
That's a really cool idea that I had never thought of before, but that seems like it would be good.
Yeah, I mean, I love the Gregs. The Gregs are awesome. The Gregs were everything good about BioWare before they left, and then
everything
BioWare...
good about video games. They just seem like great guys that just love video games.
Like I would love the Gregs
put their heart into it,
just to come back and make me another RPG. Like that's what I want. That's what I want. Like forget BioWare. They're done. They're stupid.
You didn't like Dragon Age so much?
I really did. Dragon Age was my game of the year. Like last year, Dragon Age, because I thought it was fantastic. The problem was that I think that in general BioWare's creative direction isn't particularly good. And I was really impressed with Inquisition. Like I thought Inquisition was a return to form in many aspects. I think it had certain problems in places, but I think overall it was a big return to form for BioWare. But if it was a choice between, again, if the two Gregs went on Kickstarter and it was a choice between backing the two Gregs RPG and going to BioWare and buying BioWare RPG, I'd go to Kickstarter.
Well, that's all you need to know, right?
But I'm really surprised about this. I was kind of like, what? Because I thought he was done. Like he was enjoying his beer, journalism, and he was that was him. And I really like that he's coming back to do this. Like because I'm not sure if I like kind of augmented reality games, because it's kind of what he's doing is basically they're making games for kids whereby you do something on an iOS device or an Android device, and then you've got to do things in real life. So it's kind of like, I suppose it's kind of like the old TV programs, children's TV programs, where they kind of try to make the kids interact by doing like hand actions and talking
to the TV.
Yeah, it's kind of, I assume it's kind of like that, but it's more in the sense of like maybe they do. I don't know what they do, but it sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, this sounds like something I would have loved when I was a kid, being able to, play a video game, basically, while being on a playset. And I think that's also good in the way that it gets kids playing video games, but not just sitting on the couch or, laying down on the floor. You're actually doing something active, and I think that's great and a great way for video games to go, especially for children.
Yeah, and it's important, and I think it's important for it to happen because kids are using iPads on a regular basis. Like... Yeah. My 4-year-old son, he knows how to use an iPhone better than I do. Mm-hmm. Like definitely. I wouldn't have known how to do that.
Yeah.
And then I think all my stepchildren, they all know how to use an iPad, PC, everything. Like they have everything that I never had as a kid.
Yep.
And it was in fact it was really strange, especially with my son, because before he could form full sentences, he knew how to use an iPhone.
Yeah.
That was a strange thing for me.
Yeah, that everything is very easy for children to understand. Like the motions and stuff, it really it like melds into their brain very easily, and they understand it very well, and that's why kids are so good at it.
But it was a strange thing for me to like literally witness when he was just sitting there on my knee, like as a 2.5-year-old, and just working an iPhone without being able to form full sentences.
Yeah,
that's a weird for me to sit there. I was like chewing on my face when I was 2.
Yeah, right.
What are you doing? Stop! It was a really strange thing. But so that makes it important for companies to develop educational games and just games for kids in general, because they are using these devices, and they need more than just what's out there at the moment, which is just tat, like match 3 or colouring the lines or stuff like that. They need actual things that are going to really improve not only computer skills but numeracy, literacy skills, because this is one of the thing is it's getting more difficult. I mean, especially as a parent, I know it's getting more difficult to do the traditional things of learning. Like, when I say to my stepdaughter who's 3, let's go read these number cards. Like, no. And she would literally rather use like a Leap Pad or an iPad or something like that to do something like that. So it's getting more and more important to learn through that medium, simply because it's more attractive for the kids, to the point now where they don't want to learn like I had to learn with pen and paper.
Yeah, and I think it's great in that something like this encourages people to get outside, to go to the playground, and it also encourages you to be social. If you go to the playground and see other kids doing this, it's a very social activity that you can do. I think this is a great possible advancement for video games for children specifically. I think this is, and there couldn't be a better guide like heading this. He's a genius. He'll do well with this, I think.
Yeah, make them do some exercise and get out of the house, because it drives me insane.
Work out all that energy that they have all bottled up. All right, so the game of the week. Let's get to that finally. So our game of the week this week is TheEscapists. It's a prison break simulator. It's kind of like a puzzle-solving top-down thingy. It's developed and published by Mouldy Toof Studios. It is $17.99 US currently on Steam, and you can go ahead and see the links to the website and where you can purchase on Steam in the show notes. So, this game is interesting in theory. I thought that this is a great concept, but just something doesn't click for me with this game. I played it for a couple hours and I couldn't get myself to go any further than that. It's an interesting one because I really wanted to like this game a lot, because the prison break just has so many different elements, and I think it could be done so well in a video game. I think that it's like tailor-made for a video game, but this game is just doesn't do it.
No, I hate it.
That's it.
Absolutely hate it. Like, the concept of it bores me to death. Because I don't like the idea of prison simulators at all.
No?
No, it doesn't entertain me. I don't want to play Shawshank Redemption in video game form. That's not interesting to me. Like literally digging, avoiding guards and then trying to dig my way out of a prison is not my idea of fun. And I think the game looks nice. Like, they'll get little sprites or whatever. It's kind of cute. And I like, the mechanics are okay. Like, it works pretty solid. Like, I'm not going to say it's a badly developed game, because it's not. Everything works like it should. I don't like the controls. I think the controls are awful, and really quite annoying. The fact that you basically move with WASD, and then to basically interact with something, you got to left click. But the menu system, it just comes out at you, and then you've got to click off and click back on.
It's very unintuitive.
It's stupid, is what it is.
And you have to hit spacebar to change into attack mode, and then you can click on things, but you have to hit spacebar to go back to interact mode. And so many times you end up just hitting someone when you meant to talk to them.
The controls are really bad. They're frustratingly bad. I hate it. And I just didn't find it interesting in the slightest. The slightest. I was so bored.
I think this game could have been enjoyable, but one of my problems with games like this is that they need to basically be all-encompassing. You need to be able for players to do so many different things. They have to be able to do things that make sense to their mind. I think that if you look at a perfect example of a game that does it well, I think, is Scribblenauts. That game, you can type in any word you can think of in the English language, basically, and it will do something in the game. But when I'm playing this game, I'm thinking, oh, great, I have some duct tape, I have a razor blade, and I have a toothbrush. I should be able to tape that together and make a shank out of that.
But nope.
Nope, you need to sharpen the toothbrush on the wall.
Yeah.
And that's how you make a shank.
Yeah, the crafting system really, really irritated me quite a lot. For games like that, I think, especially in the art style that it is and in the way that it's been built, you need a really simple crafting system that works and makes sense. And this is the problem with a lot of games that do crafting. They do crafting that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like, how am I supposed to know that that goes with that? Like, at what point do I know that?
Exactly, and there needs to be some way in-game for you to figure that out. You shouldn't have to go to a wiki, and you shouldn't have to just sit there and try all the items together, because that's not how crafting works. If crafting in a video game, when you're that person, you would know what you wanted to do, but there's a disconnect in video games, because it's really what the developer thinks you should know what to do.
Yeah.
And that has like a very jarring feeling when you think, oh, I know how this would work, but I can't get it to work in game because I don't know, like, oh, this has to be in this slot and this has to be in that slot, and then it works. That's why I think that crafting does have to be, and like I said before, it needs to be all-encompassing. You need to be able to do, like, so many different things. I think Minecraft does it pretty well, where you can basically put any number of items into your crafting bar in any, different orientation, and you'll probably make something. And I think that this game just doesn't do it well.
Yeah, I didn't like the crafting. The quest system as well, I didn't enjoy at all. Like that was an issue for me. The problem with the quest bit, because essentially your goal of every level is to escape the prison, right? So you've got to do that by whichever way you see fit. That and you can do quests for other inmates that allow you to gain money so you can purchase, contraband or whatever that you need. The problem with the quest system, it's like, for example, you'll get someone who says, I need to go search someone's room. Could you distract the guards at morning roll call? Or like you'll get someone who says, this officer, this guard has been bothering me. Can you go and take him out? Mm. Now, for example, with the officer one, I spent like 20 minutes trying to find him.
Yeah.
Like 20 minutes, because they're all moving around the prison, and I'm moving around the prison. So every time I go somewhere, he's going somewhere. It takes me ages to find someone, because they don't have like name. You've got to like kind of go over their characters to find out which names they are.
Right.
And it's just really irritating.
And that's another thing where if you were actually that character in the game, you would be able to tell which guard was which just by looking at them. You shouldn't have to, find him, he's running away. Oh, I gotta scroll over him to make sure that's the right guard. Oh, God, he's off the screen. Now I gotta move again. I gotta scroll over him, get his name. Oh, that's not the right one. All right, it'll go.
There's a lot of things in that game that I think there's a lot of flow issues in the game that I have an issue with. And I did like the I don't really... The prison system thing doesn't interest me. It's the same with Prison Architect. I really like building games and, building facilities and all that kind of management thing. But Prison Architect as well, even though it was a very well-built game so far, didn't interest me because it was a prison set, and that whole thing just does not interest me in the slightest. Right. And that's a personal preference. But
see, I actually like... The one thing I do like about this game is I think that the way they've set up the routine of the prison is very well done. I think that it's neat that every day you go to morning roll call and they said they're gonna search whoever's room, and then you go to the breakfast, and then you do your job, and then you work out, and then I like that a lot. I think that works very well, but I think they don't do enough with it. I think they needed to have, more routines that you have to learn, and maybe I just didn't get this, and maybe this is in there because it seems like it would be the first thing you would go to is learning that, oh, this guard during this time is always in this spot, and the doctor at like lunchtime, he goes to lunch, and this is his path, and I can knock him out and get his stuff, and that should be part of your planning, and it doesn't seem like it is. It seems like you're just doing missions to get money, to get items, and then break out. It doesn't feel like you're learning what the prison system is doing, and exploiting that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's got a couple of flow issues. I think the time passes too quickly too. Like, for example, like when you get your free period of time where you can just roam around and do whatever, I like to go in and steal stuff from other prisoners' cells. And you don't get enough time to do that.
Yeah. Like, I think it would have done well if this game had some kind of like Sims, like, you know, pause time, go slow, go fast, go super fast, because sometimes it's like I don't care about this right now. Just get this over with. I want to get to like the next period because that's when I have to do this quest.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're like, oh, no, I actually want to like sit here and figure something out right now, but I can't because everything's going so fast. I think that some kind of changing to the how fast time flows would have been appreciated.
Yeah, and again, I think, like, you know, mechanically the game's okay. Like, it's well developed. It works. It's not like terribly buggy or anything like that. But I just think there's a couple of design flaws in there that just make the game really, really not fun for me. Like, the quest system's an issue for me. The fact that there's no mini map is an issue for me because I want to know where I'm going in the prison.
Even after a couple hours, I was still, you know, getting lost in certain areas of the prison.
Like I said, the crafting is a big issue because it's not logical at all. And I just didn't. I mean, the game does have a little bit of character and charm in, like, you know, in the names and stuff. Like, my character was called Old Timer because he was old, and then, like, you know, watching the guards shout, "Get on with it, old timer!" Like, it's kind of funny, but again, a little bit of charm and character is not enough to save you in the long run. And to me, it just.
I feel like this game could be good. I think that if this game continues with frequent updates, I think they could get to a point where this game is enjoyable, but I don't think it's at that point now. Or a sequel. I think this is the type of game that a sequel would be really good for.
Yeah, I mean, I think
look out for that.
There are people who are going to really, you know, enjoy this game. I'm not one of them, though. No, I mean, I wouldn't buy it. To be honest with you.
I would take it up for like $5 if it's on a Steam sale sometime.
I mean, I got it.
I'm sure it will be, but
I got it on sale for $10 at Green Man Gaming.
Oh, you got it on Green Man. I should put that link in the show notes as well.
Yeah, because there was 25% off on it, and then Green Man Gaming gave me like another 20% off promo voucher. So I got it eventually for like $10, which wasn't terrible, but
yeah, I mean, this is the type of game that I buy at a Steam sale and play it for like 10 minutes and then never play it again. But it's all right. I don't know.
Because how much is it full price? 15?
It's 17.
17.
Yeah, I can't get to like I can't build up much hatred for the game. But I have apathy towards this game. It's very, it's there. It's fine.
Yeah, I was like, I played it once and then I just didn't care. I'm not interested. I want to go to something else.
Exactly, which is almost, you know, the hardest kind of game to talk about is the one that you don't have any distinct hatred for or any distinct love for.
But yeah,
I guess that'll do it. Unless you have anything else you'd like to chime in with. Nope. All right, well then let's close out the show. You can reach the show at 20orLESS podcast, or you can email us at 20orLESSpodcast@gmail.com. You can watch the VOD of this episode on Mr. Cosmic Engine's YouTube page. That's youtube.com/TheCosmicEngine. So go ahead and check that out. You should also be subscribing with whatever kind of podcast subscriber, RSS feed catcher, or if you just use iTunes podcast app, that's fine too. Just go ahead and hit that subscribe button and give us a like and give us a review if you would do so kindly. What do you got, Cosmic? What do you got coming up? Where can we reach you?
What have I got coming up? Bed.
Yeah, me too.
No, I have a couple of videos coming out this week. I'll have an early access examination of Onikira. I will try and do a couple of reviews. I've got a review of Sunless Sea coming out probably in the next week or so.
Should be a good one.
I'm hoping to get my hands on Dragon Ball Z Xenoverse when it comes out.
Is that another like Dragon Ball Z brawler or?
Yeah, it's a fighting game, but it's with a twist. Instead of like just bringing out another Dragon Ball Z game where you get to play all the characters, it's got like a really good story mode supposedly, where you basically play a Saiyan from the future who basically someone's gone back and trying to change the timeline of Dragon Ball Z. So you've got to go back and help Goku and Vegeta and all them restore the timeline, which kind of sounds really fun.
Yeah, that does sound pretty fun.
And you get to create your own character and stuff. So I'm digging it.
Yeah, that sounds like it could be really good.
I love myself some Dragon Ball.
That's coming out for PC or?
It's coming out for everything.
Coming out everything.
Multi-platform.
Right. Yeah, I'll have to take a look at that. And you can reach me at gteeg on Twitter, and you can email me at gaddockteeg@gaddockgaming.com. And unless you have something else, that does it for this show. Good. All right. Good week. Thanks for listening, guys, and we shall see you next week with a new $20 or less game.